Great. Thank you very much, Antonio, for the invitation, really. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is Gökçe Phillips, joining from Turkey today. A little bit about me, perhaps. I'm a computer scientist by background. Did my master's and PhD in the UK, and then did a lot of project management, also process optimization in Dubai. And now we're based in Turkey and very much interested in cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. So what I'll be doing today is to tell you a little bit about this journey. Please feel free to send me questions or contact me for any questions you might have. So I'm gonna share my screen. Right. So what I call today is the reflection of blockchain and crypto assets in daily life. And what I'd like to tell you about is basically how we are observing this technology right now and how we will be observing going forward in the next few years. I always would like to put this slide just so that any crypto assets mentioned in this presentation are for example purposes only and cannot replace investment advice. So just so you know, anything I'll be showing is actually to show you that there's a lot of room for project managers in this ecosystem. So it's a very short agenda. What's happening, why blockchain, crypto assets, and what's changing. Now, what's happening, as complicated as this image might seem, it's actually a simple observation of mine. These are the end users, so this is us. And here are the crypto exchanges where we can buy and sell crypto assets. So this is the bit that we have already observed in the last 11 years. There have been a lot of crypto exchanges such as Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, and alike have been set up for us to be able to convert one crypto asset to another. Now, since 2017, we've been observing innovation in the data layer. And by data layer, what I mean is the blockchain technology. Now, the people who are in this ecosystem notice a lot of change in this part of the innovation. However, actually it is not visible to the end user. So imagine, for example, with your bank, none of us would know if our banks are using Oracle database or a SQL database, and we don't care. As long as it's safe and secure, we don't really care what technology they're using. So it's a bit like that, really. And this bottom part is about the innovation that's brought by blockchain technology. Now, in the next 3 to 5 years, this is the bit that we're expecting to observe. And this is where the crypto assets will be entering our lives by providing new services. So we will be able to access new services, add new services. We'll be able to build new types of business models. And this is the area I'm expecting that more and more project managers will be interested in. So in the rest of the presentation, first I'll be going through a little bit about this here, what kind of projects there have been or what is it about. And then in the probably 60% of the presentation is dedicated to this area here as to what are crypto assets, what kind of projects are we talking about. So first of all, why blockchain? And I'd like to start from the problem statement, as any project starts from. So what's the business case for this project? Now, one problem has been peer-to-peer payments. Now, we've had a lot of dependency on banks or other intermediary firms like Western Union, MoneyGram, and so on. Especially when you look at the immigrant money transfer from one country to another, and there are obviously millions of immigrants actually living in different parts of the world. So there is a lot of that, and Western Union and MoneyGram and companies like that do take up to 8% commission. Now, And it's not only that, actually, all the banks take commission from money transfers. However small that may seem, it still adds up to, big amounts when you think about millions of people are using these services. Also, this makes it infeasible. This makes micropayments infeasible for business models. For example, as part of your business model, if you'd like to reward your users with small amounts of money, let's say you want to give your user $1 for their attention, or for filling out a form, or anything like that, really, whatever your business model requires. If you're going to be sending him $1, but you're having to pay another $1 for the money transfer, obviously that makes your business model infeasible. So this was yet another problem, which perhaps we haven't really even noticed. Now, the other side of the problem is keeping records safe, unchangeable, and verifiable. Now, obviously, we have a lot of dependency on authorities, and we would like to trust that, our governments or banks or authorities are able to provide us the right, strong technical infrastructure so that our records are safe. Now, I'm going to show you some examples as to how safe they are in a minute. In terms of peer-to-peer payments, I got this example. In 2015, $440 billion was sent through Western Union, MoneyGram, and companies alike. And so 35 billion of this has gone as commission. So that's quite a lot of money, actually. When we say 8%, it's really quite a high percentage. So one of the things blockchain is actually has introduced is that these type of commissions are negligible. There are transfers, $100,000 transfers, for which you need to pay 10 pence, depending on what blockchain you're using. So in terms of money transfers, really blockchain is revolutionary. In terms of keeping records safe, I've got a couple of examples here. One from the US, where this was during Obama administration, that 21.5 million people's data were hacked. Yes, in reality, obviously, I'm sure all the governments are doing their best to keep, to fund cybersecurity efforts, but nonetheless, these things are happening. Another example is from the UK, where the UK government loses data for 25 million Britons asking for child benefits. These can be extremes, but even these extremes are happening in the current world. Now, one of the main problems here is that we have a centralized system. And when you have a centralized database, you're actually trusting the virtue of the database administrator. So you're hoping that this person you've hired as a database administrator will not be changing the records, will not be deleting, editing records. Whereas in blockchain, it's immutable, so you can't really change or delete the records. That's one of the main benefits of blockchain. So, some long time ago, which is probably only 60, 70 years ago, we used to keep our records in these archives. And then in the last 30 years or so, that data moved to data servers. But again, as I mentioned, there is this belief that this person here has got high values and will not be changing any data. And so with the blockchain technology, a basic definition here is a shared immutable record of peer-to-peer transactions built from linked transaction blocks and stored in a digital ledger. I don't want to be necessarily digging into technical details here, but basically, in a centralized system, you've got a centralized database. In the recent years, we observed decentralized, so servers in different parts of the world. However, in a distributed setting, especially for Bitcoin blockchain, for example, you're looking at hundred thousands of nodes. copied at every node here. Right. And now, what kind of data can be held or is held on blockchains? You know, I've only given here 3 examples, but it's, you know, there are a lot of sectors that blockchain technology is being integrated. So health data, logistics and supply chain data, or, you know, energy, temperature, image, speed data. Of course, the question here might be, why do we do this? Why do we not hold logistics data in a normal database? Why do we care? And one of the examples I can give is, for instance, if we care about how a certain material is transported, it can be olive oil, it can be diamond, it can be meat or milk. You know, so if you care about how a certain material is transported, you want to know, perhaps you want to know temperature at every stage of the supply chain data, and you want to know who holds that particular material, who transports to who, and so on. And this kind of data should not be deletable or modifiable. And so that is why you want to use blockchain for this kind of you know, mission critical material, or perhaps important material that you care about how it's transported. And the same goes for, you know, other examples. Health data is obviously another one. With health data, there are hybrid solutions. So you keep the, you know, image or XRI data in a central database in a cryptic format and so on. I'm not, you know, if there are questions, I can always go into detail here. Right. So we've kind of covered as to, you know, what is blockchain technology is doing or why it is there. Now, and the rest of the presentation, I'll be more focusing on this expected innovation. So this is, again, a very high level view of how it is being architected, the crypto assets. This is where the blockchain technology layer is. And then on top of this, there are coins created, such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, ADA, EOS, and so on and so forth. Again, you know, depending on the questions, I'm happy to go into detail here. But these coins, they have certain technical details, and the coins here are mostly in the technology sector, either used as a payment token or payment coin, or they're a platform where other coins can be generated. And so this application layer is perhaps more interesting for the project managers, because this is where end users will be touching the crypto assets for more purposes. So they're not only going to be buying and selling crypto assets in the crypto exchange, but they're going to be utilizing a particular service or a platform by using some of these tokens. So this is really new business models, where these new business models are emerging. And yes, I wanted to highlight that I think there is a huge opportunity for project managers to get involved in these type of token projects, because it's not only a technical project, it needs you know, coordination between economists, a finance professional, perhaps solicitors, because some of these contracts are also being transformed into these coin platforms. So in the ecosystem, there are a lot of actors that need to be coordinated effectively, and therefore I think there's a huge potential here. So what are crypto assets? They are digital representations of value. And these definitions are coming from Germany, as it is accepted in Germany. Crypto assets are not issued or guaranteed by a central bank or a public authority. So crypto assets are not backed by any central bank, but you might have heard that there are also central bank digital currency efforts in most parts of the world. And these assets do not possess the legal status of currency or money at the moment just yet, but there are efforts, especially for some of the big coins. And they're based on agreement or actual practice and accepted as a means of exchange or payment, and or they serve investment purposes and can be transferred, stored, or traded electronically, as we know. In the rest of the presentation, I'll try to show you several examples from different sectors. Now, this is perhaps the only picture taken from our platform for this presentation, but the main aim is really to show you that there are coins in 17 different sectors, as we've discovered so far. So from finance to content and advertisement to health and insurance sector and art and so on. And this is only growing. At the moment, there are about 2,100 plus tokens traded in an exchange. And in fact, there are 8,000 plus tokens, some of which are not obviously traded in an exchange. And what I'd like to give you as example is, some crypto assets from some of these sectors. Stellar is one. Stellar is in the finance sector. It's a payment token. What Stellar promises is that Stellar says, well, if you're going to be sending or receiving money in any pair of currencies, I can be the middleman. So, let's say I'm going to be sending euro and I'd like my counterpart to receive in pound. Now you can say, yeah, but you can do it in the current system. Well, yes, you can, but you're going to have to use Swift, and Swift takes 3 to 4 days, and you're going to have to pay to the intermediary bank, which is going to cost you a lot. Just to give you an example, for a conference that I couldn't attend due to Corona, due to COVID, I had paid about £120. So they said, well, we can reimburse you, no problem. And they did reimburse £120, but I only received £80. So £40 went to, some of the bank fees. I was lucky and they were honest to pay me that £40 additionally. But all in all, the Stellar says basically, you don't need to pay such high commissions. You don't need to go through any bank. I'm happy to, do it behind the scenes. You can convert euro to Stellar, Stellar to whichever currency you like. And so, I'm going to be the behind the scenes middleman here. Also because the network, the transaction is so fast. Another example is from entertainment sector. Theta. Theta says, well, I'm a purpose-built crypto asset to power the decentralized streaming network. Now, what does this mean? When you want to build applications on top of platforms such as esports, music, TV, movies, anything that's streaming, you need the content delivery network across the globe. And what they're saying is, rather than having such a huge infrastructure, what you can do is you can use the individual users, redundant computing and bandwidth resources, and you can pay them in Theta. What I'd like to underline here is that crypto assets are so good in building these incentive mechanisms, and this is only one. Really, there are thousands of such business models. Another example, one of the projects I quite like is Basic Attention Token, and this is an example from content and advertisement sector. There is a Brave browser, and their promise is that, well, we can give you a browser with no ads at all, and we can block all the ads, all the trackers, and we can even, in fact, report to you how many of them we blocked. And that's fine. However, if you'd like to look at the ads that we're showing, then we're happy to reward you with basic attention token. So here, for example, you can even see how much basic attention token you're earning by simply looking at some ads. In the current setup, let's say, I don't think any of us are being rewarded for clicking on advertisements or actually just seeing advertisements. So from that perspective, Bots is already running project, and they're actually growing. They just bought search engine to replace Google on their browser. So yes, because I like it, I keep talking about. Sorry. Right. I mean, and then I can go on about these projects. Yet another 3 here as just to give you a bit of flavor and taste about different types of projects. Chili's is one in sports sector, and what Chili's token does is it says, well, here are the sports clubs and here are the fans. And I'd like to create more dynamics between these two actors of the ecosystems. What should I be doing? Now, supporters should feel a bit more involved in the decisions of the sports club, and sports club can receive more financial support from the fans. So this is exactly why Chili's is created. By owning Chili's, you have the right to participate in some of the decisions that sports club is putting forward. Another quick example is a Filecoin. This is in the technology sector. And Filecoin says, if you have extra space on your laptop, I quite like to allocate that. You tell me how much, whether it's 200 gigabytes or whatever, and then I'll be paying you Filecoin for this. And if you do need extra space because you're a developer and you need perhaps 5 terabytes of space, and in that case I can give you a lot of space in different parts of the world, but then you need to pay me. And finally, one example from Art Makinas. What they're saying is you may not be able to afford to buy these expensive artworks from different artists, but don't worry, we are tokenizing it, so therefore you can actually own 1,000th of an artwork. So in that sense, if you're an art lover, there is a token for you. Right, and it's a couple of examples from the world, so to say. So this particular NBA player, Spencer Dinwiddie, said, "I'd like to tokenize myself. I've got a contract of 34 million, and I believe that my value is going to increase in the next couple of years or however many years. If you'd like to own a part of my contract, you can pay $150,000 and that would be 1 token." So he's created, I believe, 34 tokens and already raised 1.3 million from different investors. Another one, which is from the last couple of days, actually, this one. This is about non-fungible token. If you're interested, I can tell you more about it. But basically, an artist created this 5,000 picture artwork, and it is sold for $64.9 million. Again, interesting. There are people who are happy to pay that much for a digital artwork in the crypto coin environment. And venture capitalist says, everything that can be tokenized will be tokenized. The Empire State Building will someday be tokenized, and I'll buy 1% of it, and I'll get every day credited to my wallet 1% of the rent minus expenses. So this, other type of business model that's created thanks to the coins, is that whatever is out of reach for ordinary for ordinary people who may not be able to afford maybe even to buy a house, now can actually own you know a fraction of a house, a fraction of an artwork, a fraction of a building. And finally, I'd like to leave you with this. A nice quote from Scott Nelson. We're dealing with the actual invention of something extraordinarily new and very powerful, and that is the ability to build economic games that actually are businesses and which are controlled by a community who's vested in the game. So, all the business models and the crypto assets um, are based on user incentives where more and more people are being rewarded for doing something and being a part of this game. Well, thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Golce. It's super interesting, and we can see the passion you have on the topic.
Thank you. Thank you.
We can really see that. I think in order to be on time, I want to move to Mohammed. If there's any questions for Golch, keep them. We'll see if we have time after, or you can reach out to her. But I really think there's a lot to learn from here. Really, we just seen a little bit, and especially the last part is so fascinating. Can we do a blockchain of this group knowledge, maybe? So I think there's some
Sure,
questions.
sure. Yeah, wonderful. Really, I mean, I give 8-hour workshops on this topic, so it's really an enthusiast of mine.
Thank you, Golce. Let's move to Mohammed. I don't know if we fixed the problem with the slides. Uh, and then, well, Golce is part of the group, so you can always chat with her if needed. But I want to pick up on you later on, Golce, for sure.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Mohammed, are you there? Let's see. Yes, he's there. You have the slides.
I think he's on mute, and I have not received the email yet. So
Okay. Mohammed, can we try once more? Otherwise, we just shifted to the next call. And let me ask you to unmute.
Okay, is it unmuted now?
You are unmuted, yes.
Oh, great, great. So you can hear me now. Okay, gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen, I'm really sorry. The problem, the technical issues I had, although I have been making presentations quite a lot on Zoom, but to remember everything at the nick of time is really important. So anyway, that's my apologies for keeping you waiting at the first place. But
No
anyway,
problem. No need to apologize.
yeah, okay. So I'm going to share with you the challenges of strategy implementation, because the global findings are that the success rate in implementing strategy is hardly 35 to 40%. So that really brought the interest for me to work in this area. And because if the success rate of global organizations is hardly 35 to 40%, that means 60 to 65% of organizations are unable to move with their strategic implementations, and that can and the huge amount they are wasting in the resource, in the terms of resource, time, and market shares, you can imagine. So the major challenges I found, which generally holds the organizations to move in static directions, are essentially the framework through which they are required uh, to develop their competence for implementing their strategy. That is the foremost and topmost area which organizations generally do not take care of. And they, what usually I have experienced is that most of the cases, the business unit managers are made responsible to take care of their strategy implementation, and the evaluation of their progress and their success is worked out based on their uh, 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 not on the strategy implementation, but on their performance on the satisfying the need and expectation of the business in the progression. So when the focus is not on the strategy, then definitely the business unit and the people who are made responsible to implement the strategy, they give the second priority to strategy implementation. So that means the framework, the missing framework, is the foremost and most important area which needs attention of the businesses. The second area is strategy binds. Here, essentially, I mean that the strategy is usually is the business of the top managers. They are required to develop the strategy where they want to see their organizations to stand in 5 or 10 and 15 years time. But that strategy is buyed out by the rest of the organizations? Generally, no. And here I would share with you that Brightline Institute has come up with 10 guidelines which helps the organizations to find the gaps in advancement to the strategy directions. So buyout is the foremost important area because there the human beings are involved, and human beings, if they are not buying out the uh, plans of their top managers, then no way whatever they want and they need, the strategy implementation will not take place the way it is required. So that is the that is the second area which needs attention. The third area to me is the development of a team which really needs to be developed in a way that that is capable enough to move in the strategic directions and help the implementation of the required things, processes, and methodologies, and technology, and everything which helps organization to move in the required direction. So the team development is again foremost important area, and uh, if the team development is not done in the right manner, then definitely the advancement will be affected. Thereafter, the coherence and culture. Uh, uh, Culture usually is something which holds back no matter what the top managers are really wanting. If the culture in the organizations is not developed, which is supportive of the advancements in the right direction. So that culture has got to be developed, has got to be maintained, has got to be ensured that it is supporting the advancement in the strategic direction. Thereafter, the emotional engagement. Well, the one thing which I have noticed and I have learned that the COVID-19 has brought to the attention is the human beings, attention on the human beings. And that's the one big thing that has helped the organizations to see the human beings not only as a resource, but as a important area where we can help the advancements or break their advancements in the required directions. So, and that is ensured only with the emotional engagements. Thereafter, the human-friendly workplaces. That I am going to talk about more in detail further on, because the COVID-19 has brought the attention to this area, and now the workplaces are required to be made human-friendly, because humans are the one who are helping the organizations to move, to progress, and to sustain their growth. If they are not taken care of, then definitely you can only dream of something, but the true results will never be achieved. The next area, the foremost is when you are able to develop a strong team, and at the same time, if you are able to give them the free hand to fail, then only the team will be able to move in the right direction and in the required directions. So to me, these are the the four most important areas and the challenges which organizations are required to deal with and to manage in the most effective manner. Let me, I won't be able to go into the each area more in detail, but some definitely required to be talked about. The framework is the foremost important area, because if the framework is there, then only the resources will be applied in the right manner, in the right direction, in the right time. And project management has come up with a framework which is for portfolio management, program management, project management. Keeping that into effectively applied, the organizations can develop a framework which is helpful to apply the resources at the required space, at the required time, in the required manner, and to move in the right directions. This framework essentially primarily helps businesses to move with agility and to move with the result-driven management. Uh, because businesses are required to manage their businesses at the results at every stage, because you can only achieve the bigger results through small successes and small advancements. Because if the advancements are done in the right manner, then only you will be able to reach to your desired goal effectively. And since the advancements has got to be done, to be carried out in the most effective manner, that means you don't have the choice to do it twice. uh, Very plainly, because you don't want to lose time and you don't want to lose resources. So you don't have the choice to do anything to why. That means you need to make success first time and every time. This agility is essentially is developed through the networking. And the latest approach in the organizational development is to create the networks. And that networks is essentially is defined in three areas, that is cooperative networking, coordinative networking, and collaborative networking. Project management framework has essentially brings the focus which helps the advancements based on a goal which is managed by the portfolio and implemented through program and project management. That means the networking can easily be defined at the program and project management levels. Why cooperative and coordinative networks? Because you are required to involve all those beyond your project team and program teams who are helpful to make advancements, like your vendors, like your supportive other organizations who are helpful in advancements in the right way, in the right direction. So they are need to be taken care of in the cooperative and coordinative networks. The collaborative networks are the one where the action is taking place, and there you need the collaborative network so that you are able to manage the happenings of the things and happening of the results. So this framework essentially has already been recognized globally as the 21st century management concepts, and helps organizations to move in directions if they are able to develop this framework and design their strategic implementation in that fashion. The recommendations are that the organizations must develop their entire team exclusively for the strategy implementation, and that team should be independent of the day-to-day engagements and the satisfaction of the customers on day-to-day manners. So the strategy implementation team must be independent of that. When that happens, then you are able to apply the framework in a most effective manner, and you are able to manage the team in a more effective way. Going further on, the performing culture essentially is helped through project management principles and practices, because project management is a result-driven approach, and it is intensively leadership endeavor. So applying project management principles and practices on the projects and on the programs brings the team members habitual of applying principles and practices at every task and at every advancement. Uh, since the project management is a leadership intensive endeavor, that needs to be managed through collaborative leadership, and the skills of the collaboration has got to be introduced to help the culture of working together. And since project management is a change management approach, and it helps the change management, so the change management approach has got to be applied that adds to the culture of the high performing. Finally, the fourth area essentially is the systems which the organizations are required to adapt for capturing the lessons learned and maintaining their organizational knowledge, because all the future projects which are of similar nature or near to the similar nature, the knowledge captured from the previous experiences can be applied, and there the repetition of the mistake can be avoided. So these four areas essentially, when done together, helps building the high performing culture. To understand it more in detail, my books are available in the market, and there I have discussed more in detail how these four areas contribute to the building of the culture for high performing.
Thank you,
Uh,
Mohammed. Thank you. I want to leave a few minutes for any questions for you or for Golche. Thank you. Very useful. And it's good to see a presentation without slides once in a while.
okay, I think I'm already through. A 3 or 4 more slides are there, but if you're short of time, then I will really like to hold it.
Yeah,
Or
Mohammed,
should I continue?
we didn't see the slides, but if you can share them, we'll send them.
Okay, sure. I will do that. Sure.
Okay, any questions for Golche or Mohammed? Two very different topics, very, very interesting.
I have a question for Goche. It was a fantastic presentation, Goche. Really loved it. It was a really great overview of what's been happening in terms of the development in the ecosystem of blockchain and distributed ledger technologies. And I'm really pleased that you mentioned non-fungible tokens, because that's what a lot of people are talking about. I'm interested in finding out what Holochain has to do with this ecosystem. Can you talk a little bit about that? Can't hear you. Can't hear you, Goche.
She said, sorry, I'm on mute. I could read the lips.
Yeah. Here you go. Can you hear me right now?
Yeah.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Yeah. So Holochain is yet another crypto asset. And, honestly, it's difficult to follow all the crypto assets, I must admit. I try to read, 5-10 every day. I probably read about 200 so far. But as far as I remember, it was about controlling your identity and connect sort of how you want what application to see. Because, in most cases, what happens is that let's say, for example, for government. Now, for government applications, one government entity can see all your other data in the other government entity. Now, as the end users, we should be able to control which entity sees what part of my data, because I don't necessarily want my health data to be seen by by the education authority, or an authority that's to do with my marriage registration doesn't have to talk to an authority that's to do with my research grants and so on. So Holochain, as far as I remember, is basically giving you the control to for you to give access parts of your identity, and governments are actually also interested in this kind of applications, but I can give you more about it after looking at my own platform.
Can you talk a little bit about that platform, the Crypto Index series? Just so an overview so people know where they can resource more info.
Sure. So what we've noticed is that in most of the crypto exchanges, you can only see a name or an acronym of a crypto asset like BTC, ETH, and so on, and a graph showing you up and down, the price performance. And we've noticed that this should not be enough for end user or an institutional trader to decide what to buy and sell. So in our platform, in Crypto Index series, you can dig deep for any crypto asset. You can know more about, or you can look at a summary of a crypto asset. You can see what kind of other similar assets there are. We've even made like a taxonomy. What I mean by taxonomy is we've classified the crypto assets by their sector, by their type, by their technical characteristics, whether they're mineable crypto assets, whether they're stable coins, and so on and so forth. And then you can even look at crypto asset specific news. So for example, in your example, there's the Holochain. So you can simply want to look at Holochain related news, Holochain related social media. Holochain, you may want to compare different crypto markets for that particular asset. So rather than staying shallow, you can dig deep for any crypto asset and learn more before actually buying or selling that crypto asset. And you can do, as our name goes, we've also created crypto indices so that you can compare whether that particular crypto asset is performing below or above that sector's performance. You can create your portfolio and so on and so forth. It's especially created for more professional traders such as wealth managers, institutional traders, but of course it's also open to end users if they'd like to inform themselves more about crypto assets.
Thank you. Let me go to James. I see there's one more question there. Thank you.
Sure.
Paula.
Hi, thanks. Goshe, how accessible is it to set up a service or whatever on blockchain? So if you're a company and you thought, I could use, inspired by the opportunities that you wanted to set up something that used blockchain for whatever purpose, how easy or accessible and is it to do that?
So there is the Ethereum blockchain. On the most of the coins or most of the applications that I mentioned in this presentation are built on the Ethereum blockchain. So but what Ethereum blockchain tells you is you don't need to build your blockchain. So use mine and then create your own tokens on top of this, and then do whatever you want to do or create your own business model on top of my blockchain. Now, as easy as it sounds, it still needs programming skills. So you would still need Solidity developers, for example, to do that, and some backend developers as well. What would play an important role for project managers is, if you have such ideas, you can be the one creating that business model, and sort of as to how that we call it token economy. So when that token will be created, who has the authority to create the tokens, who will be paid tokens, who will be paying tokens to the system. So there's that economic model there. As the project manager, you can also be involved in that creating that model.
Are there sort of intermediate agencies that you can go to, like you can with building a website, and say, this is my idea, can you build this on top of Ethereum? Well, are there people there to do that for you, or do you have to employ your own team?
More and more, you see such companies creating tokens. It is not as widespread as I would say, web agencies, but there are companies out there who would create a token. The only trouble is, how are you going to check that it is really, they have really created what you ask of them? So in that sense, you may still need perhaps a consultant to actually to check the end result.
Okay, thank you.
Because obviously there is money involved in it. You would be creating and burning money essentially. So in websites, there's no harm coming to anyone. But yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Well, we're reaching the end. Thank you very much, Mohammed. Thank you, Golche. If that's okay with you, I will put your contact details in the mail. I think people know you by now, so it should be easy to connect with you. I see there's quite some information in the chat as well from Paula, as always, with good references to summits. And then there's something from Yolanda. But really appreciate your time and talking a bit more about strategy implementation and blockchain. So thank you very, very much. Thank you, everybody, for being there. And let's see if we can create a blockchain with this community. Take care.
Thank you, Antonio, for the opportunity. Have a good night, everyone.
See you in 2 weeks.
Thanks all. Thank you, Joe.
Bye-bye.